Hi there, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today, another deck tech from Wilds of Eldraine. Today's deck tech, as you already know because you're here, is Agatha of the Vile Cauldron. Green and red for a 1/1 human warlock, and it has two abilities. Activated abilities of creatures you control cost X less to activate, where X is Agatha's power. Still can't reduce it to 0, still got to pay at least 1 mana. And then it has 4 green and red to give all other creatures +1/+1, trample and haste until the end of turn. Haste seems a bit of an afterthought, I have to agree, but trample and +1/+1, I can cope with that plan for this. But it is really around creatures' activated abilities we're interested in, so we've got to find ways to pump Agatha's power a little bit, and we have got ways in this deck of doing this. And then eventually we'll get to a point where hopefully we've pumped her power up enough that she's maybe at 4 power, maybe at 5 power, and we'll have a whole load of mana floating around, and we can cast some creatures and go green, red, green, red, green, red, and overrun and win. That's the plan. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that's what we're aiming for. So, part of what we're aiming for anyway. Not going to say that's the only way to win. So, this is what today's deck looks like. Couple of things to point out. 36 lands, 37 creatures, 26 other spells. Green red lands all the way through. No Field of the Dead in this deck, just so we're clear. But we have got Opal Palace. Opal Palace does play an important part, because every time we cast Agatha after she's been died, hopefully we'll have Opal Palace out to do this with, and we'll come in, and she'll come in with the extra +1/+1 counters on. And because her ability basically states it costs activated abilities less, the more power we get on her, and Opal Palace does that for free basically, the better we're going to be in the long run, especially if she's died a couple of times. So just bear that in mind. Find Opal Palace as soon as you can with some of the ways we've got to do in the deck. Ramp side, we've got Tantalite, Talisman, Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Fire Diamond, Moss Diamond. That's it. Not going to go through the rest of it. You all know what it does. It's all there. There are some other bits and pieces that come along. You know, like we've got Birds of Paradise in here as a bit of ramp, and Sylvan Caryatid, so we get those in. They're here just to help out a little bit, not key parts of the deck. But the rest of the creatures, although these are activated abilities, obviously they don't cost anything, so you know, don't benefit from the reduction from Agatha unless something weird happens in the game. It's really worthwhile looking at some of the other creatures we've got. So starting with Gorilla Shaman. 2x and 1 to destroy target non-creature artifact with mana value X. So it is going to cost you 3 mana to blow something up like Soul Ring. But with this deck, we have ways of making more mana. We have ways of untapping mana every turn. There's no tap ability on this, so Gorilla Shaman can sit there and machine gun everyone's artifacts until the point at which they decide to kill him. And they probably will do, because no one likes having all their artifact ramp destroyed in Commander. Birds I've mentioned. Magnus of the Candelabra. Yeah, this gets really good with some of the lands we've got. Once we get the mana flares that we've got in the deck, type effects into play, untapping all those X lands, yeah, gives you a lot of mana to play around with, and it is really useful with this deck, so bear that in mind. Magnus the Candelabra is one of the things we probably will put the Swiftfoot boots on if need be, so bear that in mind. Elixir of Immortality's here, just to shuffle everything back in case it gets destroyed. Moving on to 2 drops. Oread of the Mountain's Blaze. An interesting card from Theros, Beyond Death, this one is. 2 in a red, discard a card, draw a card. If you start ending up with lots of lands in your hand, you need to get rid of them and you want to find some action, it's one way of doing it. At the end of the day, if we can get Agatha up to sort of like power 2, this costs us a red and a card, which isn't too bad. Soulbright Flamekin will probably hopefully cost us 1 most of the time to do this, and give all your, you know, 1, give a creature trample, give another creature trample, give another creature trample, and then get a whole load of mana. So your 3 mana investment will probably turn into what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 mana. Can't complain about that. Dragon Whisperer would take advantage of that quite happily. Give it flying, pay 1 basically once we've got Agatha in play to give the Dragon Whisperer a fire breathing, and then 4 and double red to give us a 4/4 dragon if we've got a creature that's, you know, creatures that have total power 8 or more. Yeah, should be able to hit that quite happily. Frontier Guide is just a nice way of searching out lands all the way through it. People forget about this card from the original Zendikar set. There you go, just to prove it's Zendikar. basically it costs you the same as what it costs to cast one of the circuitous routes. The first one springs to mind, but it stays in play. You can do it any stage. You know, do it at the end of your opponent's turn, or do it in response to the untap trigger. Get it in play, get another land, keep getting those lands, helping yourself out. It's good. Heroic Intervention protects everything. Carries it, I've mentioned. Magus to the library, taps for a mana, or you can tap it, draw a card if we have exactly 7 cards in our hand. So, not the end of the world. Couple of artifacts to point out. Illusionist Bracers is nice, equipped to some of the creatures. We get to untap lands, so you know, double triggers on Magnus Cabra is always quite good fun if you choose new targets. And Mage Right Stone, which is why we've got a lot of creatures in here with the tap symbol and its cost, so you can untap them. Magus the Candelabra, I'm looking at you again. Magus of the Library, I'm looking at you again. Maybe a couple of card draws. And the boots, I've already mentioned. Baal's Mage Bracers lets us also copy an ability. Whenever an ability of the creature, a quick creature is activated, it isn't a mana ability, you can pay 1 if you do copy that ability. It's another copy effect, we like that. Baal's Invokers. Yeah, this is going to be one of your mana sinks eventually. Probably one of the quickest ways to win the game. 2 in a red for a 4/2 creature, and you pay 8 mana and it deals 4 damage to each opponent. Yeah, okay then. Reducing the cost with this significantly helps. Flamewave Invoker does the same thing, but it does it to a target player or planeswalker, so it does give you a little bit of targeted removal, especially for some of the planeswalkers that are turning up again on force. Jessica's Will is also in the deck. Sorry, it's a red deck. I didn't play Dockside Extortionist. I could have done quite happily. Drop maybe Frontier Guide or Sylvan Carroted, but yeah, I went with Jessica's Will instead of the Extortionist. We'll see. It might be a mistake. I might have to update the deck list. Magus of the Wheels here. Reducing the cost of doing the whole let's discard your hand and draw 7. Very useful if you've emptied your hand out, obviously. Mana Flare is here. I talked about doubling. Play this when you're ready for it though, because if you give it to your opponents, if you play it on turn 3, your opponents will all get the benefit of having extra mana before you get it back again, so you have to be ready to use it. Valakut Invoker does 3 damage to any target for 8 mana. Again, Agatha's power, once it goes up, takes the cost of this down to a reasonable level. Elder of Laurels pumps a creature, green and 3, sorry. If target creature gets +X/+X, where X is the number of creatures you control. That's not bad, especially if you've then got mana left over to give everything trample and haste. Like that. Fight Rigging is purely here to put the +1/+1 counters on Agatha once we get there. That's an extra +1/+1 every turn, or maybe the +1/+1 you need to keep some of the creature alive. You know, like Candelabra, Magus of the Library, so on and so forth. Bear it in mind. Sylvanus' Invoker also appears. 8 mana to turn one of our lands into a 8/8 elemental creature with haste and trample. It's still a land, so you can pay the 8, tap it, get one of your 8/8, swing, all well and good. Court of Garenbreak makes an appearance to chuck some more +1/+1 counters around, especially when Agatha's in play. Like it. Takes her power straight up to 3 at the end of the turn, so that's cool. Selivana, Heart of the Wilds. I am going to be looking... Someone's made a comment on one of the videos somewhere going forward about... No, it was in my stream the other day when I was streaming. About... I don't really do CEDH. I am starting to look at some of the CEDH stuff and my take on it, so hopefully you'll see a few of those videos coming up once we've got through the rest of the Wilds Drain. Selvanna will be one of them. But they're in this deck because we can untap them with Mage Right Stone, and yeah, let's use the ability to have a lot of mana. Go with that. Tribute to the World Tree comes into play. A creature comes into play whose power is under 3. It gets 2 +1/+1 counters on it. Yeah, okay then. And if it's got power greater than 3, you get a card draw. Not going to complain. Too good. Very bit more challenging to cast with 3 green pips as its mana cost, but we'll try. Sylvana Ice Shaper also comes in. Another one that we'll be looking to untap with the Mage Right Stone. But nice little way of generating sort of like manalith tokens and eventually getting up to 8 mana or less than to go and find a spell and put it into play without paying its mana cost like that. Captivating Crew comes in to nick everyone's creatures eventually, hopefully for just the cost of 1 red mana when we get that far. Orathon, Hero of Lava Break, again Hopefully we'll get to the 1 red or the 3 red side of it instead of paying 1 and red and 6 and 3 red to create some tokens of things, which we can then do. Hopefully people have things worth copying and nicking, or our creatures are worth copying, I should say. My bad. I did forgot that was only our creatures, but hey, we've got enough things we can copy in this deck, so it'll all be good, I'm sure. Call to Verant Breath just gives a little 3/1 red knight creature token every turn. That's fine. Ember Swallower. I think people forget about Monstrosity is an activated ability. So Agatha does reduce the cost, and this one's really good. Ember Swallower basically blows up, makes everyone sacrifice 3 lands. Again, and it leaves you with a, 7/8 creature on the board. Yeah, cope with that plan. Court of Bounty. Let's put a land or creature into play with a monarch still. Domesticated Hydra, as long as it's been made monstrous, it has trample. 3 green, plus whatever X we can pay into it gives us monstrosity X, so, you know, we want to make this as big as possible. Polokranos, World Eater, we might as well have it here to deal some damage and fight some things. Ranata comes into play whenever all our other creatures come into play. They come into play with an extra +1/+1 counter on them, so, you know, Agatha comes in as a 2/2 minimum. Wild Heart Invoker, 8 mana to give something +5/+5 in trample. Domri Chaos Bringer, give something Riot. That's in here for the +1/+1, and it's really nice having the Riot ability if you've got something you need to get into play and untap. You know, Magus, Birds of Paradise, Sylvan Carotid, for example. Leafkin Avenger gives us mana or deals damage depending on its power to target creature or target player or planeswalker. And Polis Crusher, I forgot about this one as well from the original Theros set. Trample, protection from enchantments. There's a lot of enchantment decks now that Wilds of Eldraine is out there in Commander Land. And when it comes into play, when it deals combat damage to a player, if it's monstrous, destroy target enchantment that player controls. Might bring some of your creatures back that have been removed. Lithorm Engine I've already mentioned. You can either, eventually you'll be able to copy target permanent spell you control or copy target instant sorcery, but 9 times out of 10 you can really copy the triggered, activated or triggered abilities. And it's the activated ones you're going to copy for 2. Wildfire Clot Cerberus, when it becomes monstrous, deals 2 damage to each creature opponent and each creature they control, so any weenie decks get wiped. Ctiv does the whole damage as well as making you the monarch. Stone Shock Giant, it stops everything blocking that hasn't got flying for a turn, so it gives you a nice way of alpha striking when you can monstrous it and have enough power on the board. And Storm Breath Dragon comes into play when he becomes monstrous. It deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of cards in their hand. A 7/7 with haste is a lot of mana to cast, but with things like Mana Flare, not too bad to do. Likewise, the Asp is here just so we've got a reach blocker that eventually becomes an 8/9. And I was talking about untapping things. Seaborn Muse does that automatically. This is probably more important to have the boots on here than it is on any other thing, because you want to be untapping everything so you can keep using your things like your invokers to blow the board up. Splitting Slime, make it monstrous. It becomes a copy of this, so you get your token copy as a Splitting Slime that you can make monstrous again. You keep having copies of them appear. Expensive, yes. I mean, it's 11 mana to do it the first time. But every time after that is 6 mana, which isn't too bad, especially if we manage to ramp up Agatha's power a little bit. Death Kiss is also here, 5 in a red for a 5/5. Whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks one of your opponents, double its power. So you don't take the downside of it, but all your opponents do, and you can make it monstrous and then basically goad all the creatures so they all have to wipe each other out. That's quite nice. Hydra Broodmaster, a lovely monstrous creature to make all those extra Hydra tokens. Nemesis of Mortals, just becomes a big creature at the end of the day. And Verant Confluence, you can choose 3. You may choose the same mode more than once. So you could put 6 +1/+1 counters on here if you wanted to, but not probably you'd do the +2 plus the one lot of the 2 +1/+1s. Well, maybe 2 lots of that, and then return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. By the time you get to 6 mana, the chance of you having to search out a basic land is unlikely, I'll be honest. Etali's here, the Primal Conqueror and the Primal Sickness. Activate ability to transform and do the poison, win that way. Virtuous Strength, return something that's been killed off from our graveyard to our hand, and then all our basics, of which we have quite a few forests and quite a few mountains, will then tap for extra mana. When we tap them 3 times as much to be precise. But Zendikar Resurgence just lets us double the mana we get from a land as we tap it, and when we cast a creature spell we draw cards. So, you know, this plus mana flare should mean we have a lot of mana available, even if we haven't got Agatha in play, to win with things like the Invokers, just so it's there. Colossus of Acronis becomes monstrous very easy in this deck. A 20/20 that's indestructible. And has trample. Probably gives your opponents headaches. And the final card, of course, we've got no other board control in the deck outside of Blasphemous Axe. And Blasphemous Axe you just cast whenever you need to, and then hope you hit Elixir of Immortality. But that's it. That is my take on Agatha for the day. I think I've got the main activated creatures in there. If you think there's one I've missed, I mean, admittedly this is purely based on what's online. There may be others available that I haven't got online to talk about, so if there are, let me know down below, because I am thinking of building Agatha in real life. So if there's anything I've missed out, please down below in the comments. Hopefully you've hit the little subscribe thing that's appeared over here. I'd really like to get my subscriptions up. We're up to 235 at the moment here on YouTube as I record this. So, you know, hopefully 300 by the end of the year. Then I can set myself a new target for next year of getting the 500. So at least I might make something at some stage from YouTube. If you want to see me play the deck, come and check out. There's a link to Twitch down below. You come and follow me on Twitch over there. 191 followers on Twitch, and you can come and see me play these on a regular basis. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you when you come watch the next video. Take care. Bye.